Right, to start off with, I'm just going to put a few words down. Choice of system. I'm not the best handwriting, but I'm sure you can read it. Just about choice of system, that says. Now, what we mean by... Well, actually, instead of what we mean, let's just get you to consider 3 scenarios. Now, I'm fairly sure you're familiar with your setup in your school. You may have, I don't know, 3 or 4 IT rooms in your school, and all of those rooms are connected ultimately to a file server in which all of your documents are stored. And you've got connections to the internet and email servers. But for the moment, I'm fairly confident you guys have probably sat in a school where you've got, I don't know, 30 machines in a room. You've got 3 or so of those rooms, and when you save your work, it's saved on the file server, and that's in your network manager's office, wherever it's going to be. Think of another scenario. Is what we'll do now is, let's say we're talking about I don't know. Do you know Aardman do you know I don't know why I'm speaking of that. Aardman Animations. They make Wallace and Gromit and those sorts of things. So let's put down here an animation studio, and they may have a sort of similar number of computers, and then maybe even a similar number of staff working on films. I don't know how many people work on Wallace and Gromit, but let's say down at Aardman Animations they've got 100 computers and about 100 staff using and doing all the animation work on there. The 2 systems that you're going to have in place for the school and for the animation studio are actually going to be very different. And the reason being, let's focus, I think we'll start off down here. User needs. The student, that's you, that is. That comes from, what was it, the Mary Whitehouse experience? Anyway, there's an old joke, that is. We'll move on. The student, you're predominantly in your school going to be using Office-based applications. You may do a little bit of work with graphics, some Photoshop, some fireworks, even some serif stuff, whatever it's going to be. But that's pretty much it. Whereas the animator is predominantly going to be using high-powered graphics programs. So, the user needs are different in these 2 situations, 1 and 2. So the type of computer that is required is going to be very different. So if we put the word machine in here, machine, the type of machine that's going to be used to run Office and low-end graphic stuff is probably the sort of machine that you can pick up for around about, I don't know, £250. A desktop machine, probably going to have maybe 3 gigabytes of RAM and, I don't know, a dual-core processor in it. But if you're doing animation, you're doing high-definition animation, this sort of machine is not going to be suitable to do the work of an animator. They're going to be looking at machines that will be, we're talking of, I don't know how much it would cost, but perhaps thousands of pounds. Very, the top of the range, beastly powerful machines that, that schools, quite frankly, can't afford. And what this also comes on to is that the number one reason, the first reason we want to consider when you choose an IT system is, what do your users actually need from the computer system that you give them? But of course, I'm going to put down here costs/budget. I mean, I'm sure you kids would love to have thousands of, incredibly powerful machines that can do fantastic HD movie editing. And we are moving that way. And certainly in my school, we've bought about 8 machines in that are actually incredibly powerful to try and do some high definition movie editing. But that's not standard across the school, because the bottom line is, you don't need it. It's all about the user needs. You don't really need it. And the reality is that schools don't have a great level of budget, so they can't really afford to put them in place around the school anyway. So these are the 2 of the factors that we need to consider when choosing a system. What do your users actually need, and how much money do you actually have in the first place? Something else that, if I move on, availability is the 3rd factor that we need to consider. Now this is quite interesting, because I'm there thinking, well, you got to be. Sorry, it's on the specification. It says availability, so it's a word you've got to have. And I'm there thinking, well, you know, you want a machine, you could just go and buy it from the shop. Surely, is there a range of machines that are not available? And the only sort of things that I'd come across were, you may be aware of something called the Raspberry Pi. It was released kind of around about April-May time, April-May 2012. And you could only buy one when they first came out. They're only £20 machines, but it goes to some way of illustrating the concept of availability. There's another one in the you know, you've got inside your machines, you've got the, I don't know how to draw it, they've got the hard drives. I don't know why I've done this appalling diagram. You've got the hard drives that sit inside your machine. Well, most of those are made in the Far East, and I think in particular, I've got a feeling it was Thailand. But in 2011, they had real problems with flooding. And what happened was that the hard drives, hard drives, if I'm machines, there wasn't really much in the way of availability. And if you know your basic economics, if something becomes scarce, what do you think happens to the price? It tends to go up. And it tends to go up quite a lot. And we found that hard drives that were around about £30 a time, during this flooding time in Thailand, they actually went right up to, they were about £100 each. And we were finding that we couldn't build the machines in our school that we wanted to because we didn't have the budget. Oh, that's supposed to be a D there, not budget/cost. Again, so availability links back to the second point that I made on the previous page about budget and actually having the money. I'm not really convinced that availability is such a great issue, but it is on the specification, therefore we will have to learn it. Number 4, data security. In your school, you've got a network manager, and he's in charge of making sure that all of your data is secure. I'm not really convinced that a hacker is necessarily going to try and hack into a school to steal all of your coursework. I think that is quite unlikely. But in the animation studio, yeah, well, stuff they're working on, that could be worth quite a lot of money. So a hacker, or not necessarily hacker from external, I refer to an internal hacker as somebody who works at the company that's going to steal stuff and take it away. Perhaps not for an animation studio, but let's say somebody who works, and perhaps a good example, I don't know if you can see that, my screen keeps going black, I don't know why, that's rather annoying. But if you work inside a bank, you're going to have to make sure that your data is secure as possible. So you're going to have to put systems in place, and that's going to cost you in terms of software, it's going to cost you in terms of hardware, but perhaps the biggest cost is going to be that of specialist staff. So, and again, this all links back to point 2 of cost. It depends on the nature of the business that you're doing, how important security is to you. I'm not saying in the school we don't care about security, but we have normally 1 or 2 people in the school, a network manager. You might have 3 or 4 at yours. I've only got 2 at my place. And their job is to make sure that the data is backed up all the time and it's kept in another building somewhere just in case there's a fire. But we only have 2 people working on it. In a bank, Barclays Bank, not going to have 2 people working on the security of all of their data. It's going to be a lot more than that. So it depends. The system that you put in place and what you decide to use depends, I suppose, if you like. Firstly, can we actually get the hardware and software? That, if I take it back a page, oh, don't know what's happened there. Let's try, oh, my screen's gone all funny there. I think what we'll do is we'll flip on to another one and recap here. Number 1. Oh, actually, we'll make that number 2. Number 1, what do people actually need the system to be able to do for them? If you found that out, can you actually get hold of the kit that they want? Can you do that and get the kit that you want because you've got enough money to buy that kit? And once the kit is all in place, you have to put in systems to make sure that that data is held as securely as you require it to be. And perhaps we just put the level of security is the question mark there. Different organizations will require different levels of security, but that's a summary there for you, the 4 key points that you need to discuss if you are asked to deal with the concept of the choice of system that you put in place. Okay, hopefully that all makes sense to you, and sorry about that bit of a lapse in the screencast there, but as long as you can remember those 4 bits on there, you'll be fine and dandy.